Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Suzanne Gundersen of Transform Connections, where we offer stress-resilient solutions that empower people to self-manage stress. I'm joined today with my colleague, Chad Brown of Somatic, and we're here to talk about stress, charge stress, and how to discharge stress. And Chad has always told me that he's got this incredible metaphor using a guitar, so we're going to be having some fun today. But first, let me have Chad introduce himself.
I'm Chad Brown. I am a former certified massage therapist. I'm a certified TRE provider, and I offer trainings for TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises, and other modalities for people to be able to work with these modalities themselves. So that's what I do, and my business is called Somatic, Somatek, which is short for Somatic Technologies.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chad. So, hey, we talk about stress as being something that, charges the body, and that there's an appropriate level of stress. And when we go beyond that, we can, that stress kind of stays on in the body. We keep the stress response on. I know you give talks often, you bring your guitar. So I wanted you to share with us kind of what it is that you do in explaining charge and discharge using your guitar.
So I came up with this idea because I do locally, I do a big talk and a TRE class. It's like 2 or 3 hours long, sometimes 3 hours long, at Butler University here in Indianapolis with Dr. Lori Desatel, who teaches neuroscience for educators, applied neuroscience for educators. And I had to come up with some fun, sort of ideas to entertain these classes and kind of explain to them the way that we think as somatic practitioners about stress and recovery and the nervous system and all of these things. So one thing you hear a lot of people like us talk about is charge and discharge, and you kind of some people may wonder what these terms really actually mean. And so what we mean is that whether something inspires us subconsciously, or we ourselves decide that we are going to motivate ourselves to take action, what that inspiration does is bring charge, neurochemicals into the body that create charge, and that charge grabs energy, and that energy then gives us what we need to take action. So that is charge, and that even is with focus and thinking and studying, that requires charge. So even if there's no physical action, there's mental action that's taking place. So as that charge builds, it grabs more energy. And so we talked about in the first video that we did together, the sympathetic nervous system. This is where charge exists. This is where we start, building more and more charge towards taking more and more action towards the appropriate subject of whatever we're taking action towards, whether it be our safety or whether it be, a lower level of charge for something like, running errands all day or something like that. So I came up with this really great way of illustrating that, and that is to take a guitar. Oh wait, I can't see myself. Just a second. Taking a guitar and I'll put this down a little bit, and using a guitar string to illustrate charge in the body. And what discharge is allowing that charge then that we don't need anymore to digest, to calm down, and for us to become a little more parasympathetic so that our bodies can start to recover from all this charge and action that we've been taking. And it's the in and out of that that we call balance and homeostasis and all these things. Is the ability to regulate the charge, allow it to discharge into recovery, and then allow charge to come back in and allow ourselves to discharge into recovery. So one way to illustrate that is with this. So if I just take a guitar string and right? Mm-hmm. So we're gonna say that vibration is charge. And the moment I pick that string is the top of that, it is the most charge that is happening in that moment. As I let that string get quieter, that string is discharging energy, and the quieter it gets, the less charge there is, the less energy is being used, right? So Okay, so you can hear it get quieter. Now, what we are doing during the day is constantly motivating ourselves. So that would sound maybe something like this. And maybe if we're not, maybe that's a lot of charge. Maybe if we're having a not doing something quite so charged, it would sound like,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So that's doing something that's not quite as charged, not as much effort, that kind of thing, right? So through the day, we're doing something like this. Now maybe it looks more like, if you were to slow that down, what you would hear is it starts to drop. We need a little more energy. We bring charge in. Then it starts to drop. We need more little energy. We bring charge in. So that's how we regulate charge. Now, what can happen though is that if I do this really fast, there's almost no discharge happening, which means it's just charge, 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 right? So we're in the discharge is the recovery. As you get closer to quiet, you get a deeper kind of recovery from that charge, which means you are not pulling so much energy from the body anymore, or bringing energy into, into action anymore. Um, uh, and so if you want to talk about what trauma is where something big has happened, big loud, right? And we can't recover. We are actually stuck in a tension where if I let go of that charge, but it's too much charge, so we stay in tension. And so that's how I kind of illustrate trauma to people is that trauma is when we're sort of stuck in tension that has not
Right. You're,
discharged.
you're pulling that string back right now. You can't see it's too
See,
close.
so I've got tension on that string. If I let go,
Right.
right? But the inability to not recover is what keeps this tension in the body. Now, not saying that everyone that's holding tension in the body is traumatized, but
Right.
being traumatized is a very extreme version of not being able to let go and regulate and digest an extreme amount of tension that came into the body too fast,
Right.
too much too fast.
Yeah, no, I love this metaphor because it's sound. It's very auditory, so we can hear what this tension really means to the body. So when you're just strumming along, easy breezy, you're kind of getting some tension and then you're releasing, and you're getting some tension, you're releasing, and then for some of those where you're really just pulling it back and not letting that string go, it's building up, and this is why you don't want to just let it go, because you could, really flood yourself. And so you have to gently come out of that tension.
Right.
That way you can come back and then begin to get more into that flow again and start to play better music for yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it really is learning to listen to that in your body. How loud is it getting in there?
Yeah.
Do I need it to be that loud? Because the louder I'm playing this, the more charge that is happening, the more energy that is being pulled. So self-regulation, at least in part, is about understanding how loud you are strumming those strings of your nervous system.
Mhm.
And maybe pulling too much charge. Maybe, and then if you want to, then you sort of verge into the psychology of it, which is the belief of the charge you need to have with certain things. And again, this is sort of outside of my scope of practice. I'm not a psychologist, but if you want to think about how belief then does that, we do this with tapping work, where we try to help downregulate the belief of something so that it's not so charged. You can do the same kind of thing. The belief of something that maybe really isn't as threatening or requires so much charge, can really pull a lot of charge. When you downregulate that belief a little bit into realizing that something isn't maybe so threatening and maybe doesn't need so much charge, then it starts sounding more like that, and it's easier to be with.
No, that's so great.
That
So,
makes sense.
oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, we are charging our bodies with every action that we take, whether those actions are, subconscious actions or conscious actions, desired or not desired. We're taking that charge on, and it's really, our body's opportunity to discharge that, with the abilities that we have or that we can come to learn. And the more that we've been holding on to that charge, we're going to need some support to be able to discharge. That way we don't, we can come back to be playing nice music in our bodies again. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. I never really saw you with the guitar, so that was kind of fun, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. As always, feel free to reach out to us at either one of our respective websites. Again, comments, the description, the locations for our website will be in the description box below. And thanks so much for listening to us today. We'll see you on the next video.
Thank you.